Are the Giants just trolling all of us? I'll explain why that may be the case on this episode of Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Stiles. Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, thanks to you, the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are discussing whether or not the Giants are just trolling everyone and they actually do have a plan. We're also going to get into how many pitchers are actually out there this offseason, which could match and line up with what the Giants want to do. And last but not least, do you mind if the Giants do not add to the lineup? This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So I was thinking about this, and it seems like this might actually be the case, right? You know, everything is coming out about the Giants, or so much is coming out, I should say, and nobody really knows what's true, what's not, what is real, what is false. And that's exactly what you want to do if you don't want people knowing what your true plan is. I saw this list come out, right? And it was from Jeff Passan. And Jeff Passan, he said, free at ESPN, we ranked the top 25 trade candidates this winter with their best potential fits and the likelihood they move. With the market percolating and the winter meetings starting Sunday, there will be deals. Get your foreknowledge here. And in that list, or on that list, he has good fits, right? And certain fits for certain teams. There are, let me count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 20 players that are not connected to the Giants, but about 20 players that he thinks the Giants could be a fit for. Pitchers, position players, outfielders, infielders, relief pitchers, starting pitchers, closers, everything. So I started thinking about it, and I said to myself, are the Giants doing this on purpose? Are they acting in a way that makes people like me and like you and some others out there think the Giants have no clue what they're doing, right? Hey, let's throw it out there that we're talking to Kyle Schwarber. That'll really throw them off. We're talking about pitching and defense. Maybe we're serious, maybe we're not. Is Bryce Eldridge available? I don't know, right? We see far too often in sports where a lot of these teams, they let too much information get out. And somebody told me, a very, very well-connected guy within the NBA, and he said, Alan, once an article comes out about a potential deal, it's basically done. If anybody has ever bought a house, right? Yes, you can buy a house on Zillow, but a lot of times those houses, by the time they get to Zillow, it's about 2 seconds because people are already working the inner outings of a deal, and it's pretty close to being sold if it is a desirable place that people want to move to. Sometimes by the time it gets to Zillow or wherever it is, it's too late. So I'm thinking maybe the Giants are doing this on purpose. And I'll give you this as well, because I've seen this comment come through and I appreciate it. When people say, you know what, I'm just going to wait it out, right? And I feel you on that. Number one, I'm never going to tell anybody how to fan, right? You fan how you fan. If you want to have a knee-jerk reaction, cool. If you want to say, I'm just going to wait it out, I don't care about the reports, also cool. Myself, I have Locked On Giants, and I am going to react to things every single day. Now, that's actually how I am as a fan, but again, everybody's going to fan how they fan. And if I sat here and said, hey guys, for 30 minutes every day, hey guys, let's just wait it out, I don't know if that would be very entertaining. So although I appreciate when people hop in on the comment section or hit me up on social media and they say, why don't we just wait it out? We can wait it out. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep everybody entertained with this show and make sure you are up to date and you have my feelings on these reports. They're just feelings. Ultimately, we don't know. So I see that a lot. The winter meetings, we're here now, right? Sunday, they start up just like what Jeff Passan said. So I don't think we have to wait too much longer until something breaks. And I think that everybody can appreciate that. And we're all excited about what is to come. But the Giants might be onto something. They might be playing this thing perfectly, and they might be acting in a way that is throwing off the scent, if you will, because I truly don't know what the Giants' focus is. One day, I think it's pitching, right? The other day, I think actually we need to add to the lineup. Maybe it's a little bit of both, and they're just going to take the best situation available. If Kyle Schwarber says yes, maybe they're approaching everything the same way they approached the Rafi Devers deal, right? Hey, is it a great deal on paper? Maybe it's an overpay, but we need to get this talent in the building. Is Kyle Schwarber, it's the same thing when you have a draft, right? Do you draft for need or do you draft the best player available? If Kyle Schwarber wants to come to the Giants, maybe the Giants just feel we will figure the rest out later. That's exactly what they did with Rafi Devers. We have an opportunity to get one of the best hitters in baseball. We will figure the rest out later. Then they have to then figure the rest out later, but that's the process that we're in right now. And their version of it, we think, are some of these shorter term deals with these pitchers that have a little bit left in the tank or are looking to kind of revitalize their career a little bit, bounce back seasons, and guys that they feel like there's still some juice left in the squeeze. And let's talk about some of those guys on the other side. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NFL season is here, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans and cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping up at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. And I love zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, download Game Time today. We are about to discuss some of the free agent pitchers. And to be fair, there are a lot of random pitchers out there this season, and the Giants just hope that they pick the right one, right? They pick the right one or two that are in a good position to take that step back to where they were, or just take a leap in general. So real quick, I wanted to give you some of the names. There were so many names that came out in this list, but the Giants are listed as a fit for Tarik Skubal. And this is from the Jeff Passan article that I was talking about. Tarik Skubal, Ketel Marte, Freddie Peralta, Hunter Green, Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, Jarren Duran, Mackenzie Gore, Stephen Kwan, Brendan Donovan, CJ Abrams, Wilyer Abreu, Chris Bubich, Brandon Lau, Edward Cabrera, Sandy Alcantara, Jeff McNeil. So the list goes on, and you could sit there and say, yeah, that makes sense. But the reality is, it sounds like everybody makes sense. So which direction are the Giants going to go in? Right? That's kind of the question. And I think maybe something they could be doing on purpose. I mean, that is, I guess, a good way to approach it and a good way to do it, because nobody necessarily knows where they're headed or what they're trying to do. So I came across a really good article from Grant Brisbee of The Athletic, and it basically highlights some names. It says Giants aren't shopping for high-end free agents. Here are potential targets. So he goes on to break down some of the names that are out there. And this is what he says. Like some of the others on this list, talking about Zach Littell. Littell would be a lot more exciting if he didn't allow so many home runs, which is something the Giants can help with. I don't know if he left the organization on bad terms or if there's anyone still around who even remembers that those bad terms might have been. I'd assume that sort of thing is a non-factor and that he'll be an organizational target under this new offseason framework. Wait until the team announces the deal before you purchase the jersey. please. There are other possibilities who merited a full capsule like Michael Soroka and Zach Eflin, but there's no sense listing every last one of these possibilities. The point is to know that they're out there and that they'll likely get several million from teams to be almost okay. One of them will probably be the Giants. And who knows, maybe the 2026 Giants will score so many runs with the full season of Devers and a settled Willie Adames, they'll do just fine shopping in this aisle. Maybe Keaton Wynn split fingers his way into the All-Star game. Maybe I'll stick with my New Year's resolution this time and get in shape. Maybe I'll finish that novel. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Until then, if you take the Giants at their word, don't expect an exciting offseason. The Giants will be reasonable, which is a synonym for boring. Adjust your expectations accordingly. So a name I did want to break into, and that's just Grant Brisbee being honest, but a name I did want to dive into a little bit is Zach Eflin. All right. So Zach Eflin, he is a free agent right now, and he is a guy who, again, the Giants could say, hey, we think that you could bounce back. He was with the Orioles, and this is the Athletic breakdown and projection. Eflin just completed a 3-year, $40 million deal, the first 2 seasons of which were very good. But he struggled in 2025, posting a 5.93 ERA and 14 starts before undergoing season-ending back surgery in August. His strikeout percentage plummeted from 26.5 to 19.6 to 16.2 during the contract, creating on-field concerns in addition to the health issue, which will likely lead to a 1-year deal. So that would straight up be a prove-it deal. His best fits, Baltimore, to return to Baltimore, Detroit, and San Diego, only projected at 1 year, $17 million because, and again, relatively speaking for these athletes, they have no clue what he's going to be. Nobody knows what he's going to be. And I think it's kind of alarming the way that his strikeout rate dropped and just how things have progressed with him. But it's another name. And I think the big point of this, going back to the Grant Brisbee article, is that there are a lot of names. There are. They just have to pick the right one. And we hope that they do pick the right one. I have no clue if they're going to do so. And to me, Eflin looks like a guy who isn't in that category, which is funny because Littell, who gives up home runs, now they're saying, and Grant Brisbee was kind of alluding to, well, if you go to Oracle Park, you might give up less home runs. So it really, I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg thing, but it really is whatever is clever at this point and where the Giants think they can improve and who they think has the most left in the tank. Real quick, this is the Littell write-up from The Athletic. Littell is 2.5 seasons into a successful transition to the rotation that began in mid-2023, posting a 3.67 ERA in 414 and a third innings and 75 starts. There is some smoke and mirrors involved as Littell's strikeout rate, homer rate, and fastball velocity are among the lowest by starters during that period. I'm trying here, folks. I'm trying. But he also has a very low walk rate and logged a career high 186 and 2/3 innings in 2025. His projection is 2 years, $20 million. His best fits Cleveland, Colorado, and Washington. So the Giants not necessarily fits for either, according to The Athletic, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a match at all, and doesn't mean that the Giants couldn't have some level of interest. I mean, they have to be interested in someone. In the first segment, we talked about whether or not the Giants were, speaking of smoke and mirrors, just throwing stuff out there and letting people know that they're interested in everything, which means nobody knows what they're actually interested in. But you do have to land on something. And all these guys, when you are shopping in this aisle, all of these guys, they're going to have a blemish to them, right? It's the same thing if you go to, I won't name the department store, but certain stores, it costs a little bit less because maybe the horse on the polo is turned the wrong way, or there's a button missing. It's still a good shirt. It's still made well, but there's just a little blemish here that somebody could catch if they look at you close enough. So that's kind of where the Giants are at, and it kind of is where they have to be if they are looking at these, I don't want to say lesser pitchers, but pitchers that are going to be on lesser contracts, and they're still trying to prove what they have. That's separate to a Zach Gallen. I think the risks are different. If there's somebody that has a level of past dominance, right, at any level. And I don't know if I should count Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander in those categories based on their age, but that's a little bit different than some of these guys that we're talking about right now. There is a level of pedigree. It's just how far removed are you from that pedigree and how illustrious was that pedigree. That's kind of the back and forth here with the Giants. One more segment with you when we return. Do you care if the Giants do or don't add to the lineup? Do you think they need to make their hitters and make that rotation of hitters even better? That's all coming up on Locked On Giants. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Do you mind, in this last segment, do you mind if the Giants don't add to the lineup? And I understand that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on, but you know, the tough thing when it comes to the Giants is where exactly would you upgrade, right? I'm not trying to get in trouble with y'all again about Elliot Ramos, and I'm not trying to get in trouble with y'all again about Jung-Hoo Lee. So, and to a lesser degree, Casey Schmidt, okay, or Patrick Bailey, right? So Giants fans, a lot of you are very passionate about the guys that have come up in the system and what they've been able to do for the team, or guys that have signed, right? Because I do think that guys that are willing to come to the Giants, they hold a special place in the fans' hearts. Cool. So that leaves right field. That leaves right field. And maybe that's how you feel. Maybe you think all the Giants need to do is upgrade right field. That's it. Maybe that's the case. I know some of you want to do otherwise, and I would ask where, because I'm kind of in the position where you might be a little bit stuck, right? I mean, the Casey Schmidt thing, and I saw, like I said, Jeff Passan and Ketel Marte. I just don't see the Diamondbacks making a deal with the Giants. If so, I mean, they'd have to give up whatever eighth grader is running around right now that may be signing with the Giants in a couple of years, the rights to that kid. That's how deep the Diamondbacks would probably make the Giants go to get Ketel Marte. So I just don't see that happening outside of that. And that's just because of the whole Casey Schmidt conversation. Outside of that, it's really just right field, right? And in my opinion, just go get Harrison Bader. And if you want to continue to talk about these guys and how much money they're being paid, okay, well, then let's make them earn their paycheck, right? Matt Chapman's making a heck of a lot of money. Willie Adames is making a heck of a lot of money. And you have, obviously, Rafi Devers making a heck of a lot of money. All right, cool. Elliot Ramos, he's coming off 2 years ago. He was an all-star. This year, eclipses 20 home runs again. All right, let's see what they can do. Patrick Bailey, hey, man, this is your first season with ABS. You're going to have to show what you can do with the bat because things are going to change as far as your ability to frame pitches and affecting the game. That way, it's not going to go away, but it is going to change a little bit. Cool. Bryce Eldridge, you are the top prospect, one of the highest ranked prospects that we've seen in years for the Giants. Let's see what you can do. That might be just where they're at, and go get Harrison Bader, and that's a wrap. By the way, it's going to be a sad day, and I just have a weird feeling. I'm going to put out a show. I'm going to talk about Harrison Bader, and about 5 to 10 minutes later, maybe even an hour later, he's going to go somewhere else. And then all the comments are going to say, you know, Harrison Bader is gone, right? I just have a weird feeling that's going to happen because we've been continuing to talk about him. And I do think he is just a better version, to be honest, of Drew Gilbert. And I like Drew Gilbert. But if you can go get a better version of somebody and spend not a ton of money, then you go do that. You know, the Kyle Schwarber thing, I don't know how much smoke there is to that fire. I don't personally think that there's a lot. I think the Giants maybe said, hey, well, we're calling everybody, and if you're interested, let's do this dance and see where this thing can go. It's just called due diligence, right? That's more so what it is. But as far as the names, and we can go back to the names from Jeff Passan, Jaron Duran? Is that a guy where you look at him and you say that's an upgrade from Elliot Ramos? Well, you'd have to trade some of your pieces. Is that worth it? I don't know. Stephen Kwan, another name, based on what you're going to have to give up. So again, you move him to left field because he's a left fielder. Are you just sending Elliot Ramos over? I mean, maybe that makes sense because Elliot Ramos has been hitting leadoff, and you just think Stephen Kwan is a better leadoff hitter. What would the Guardians want back? Right? What would the Guardians want back in a deal like that? And I personally have said before, I don't know if adding Stephen Kwan to this lineup is going to get them to the World Series by itself, right? I just think you're going to find issues with the lineup and you're going to find issues with the rotation. It's more than one thing. When you talk about the NBA draft or the NFL draft, yeah, you need to get your quarterback, but you also need to get an offensive line. Yeah, you need to get your main scorer, but yeah, you also need a defender. You also need a center. So I think adding Stephen Kwan would really help, but I would still be looking around. Number one, I would just have to know the price tag. Maybe I'll just simplify it like that. If it was Elliot Ramos and two guys that are lower on the top 30 prospect list, sure, why not? But I just don't think it's going to be that. So I'm just not of the mindset right now of selling too much of the future for somebody that I don't know if it's an absolute game changer. Because my whole thought process would be you'd still need to add, I think, something else in free agency. Right now, if you put out let's go through the rabbit hole here, go down the rabbit hole. If you put out a lineup and you still go get Harrison Bader and you have Stephen Kwan, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Harrison Bader, those are three scrappy hitters that are right there as far as what the Giants want to be hitting wise. So if you had those three in the outfield, that would completely change the outfield. You could keep Jung-Hoo Lee in center, or you could move him to right, move Harrison Bader to center, and then you would have sprinkled contact and a little bit of power in there too, guys. Three of those guys without that lineup to add on to Rafi Devers, to add on to obviously whatever Bryce Eldridge is going to be, to add on to Willie Adames, Matt Chapman. Now we're talking. But what are you going to have to give up for Stephen Kwan? And are you still willing to do that? I'm just not necessarily confident that the Giants would do that and then do something else. I think they'd rest on their laurels maybe and say, we just got Stephen Kwan, we're good. We're going to figure out, or we might put him in right field, or we might put Jung-Hoo Lee in right field. And I think at that point you would need a center fielder because I don't think Stephen Kwan plays a ton of center. So you'd have to figure something out there. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, I like Stephen Kwan. You would just need to do more. A lot of these guys, right? A lot of these guys that are on this list. So yeah, that is the thought process there. And could you go get one of these right fielders as well in a potential deal and just say, we're not doing the free agency thing. We're not doing Kyle Tucker. We're not doing any of that. All we're doing is trading. Here are some young pieces. And now we're going to keep Elliot Ramos in left. We got Jung-Hoo Lee in center. And now we feel like our outfield is much better than it previously was. I also saw Teoscar Hernandez. He might be on the chopping block. I know he already signed his contract. But again, that's a hitter. Defensively, he's atrocious. So that's a problem. He made some great plays in the World Series, but it was kind of boom or bust out there. And again, I'm just following what the Giants have told us. So I don't know that they would want to go in that category either. So I think they should add to the lineup, but I could understand why it would be minimal. And I could understand why they need to truly see what they have with these spots, right? It's the all-in thing and where that starts and ends. Elliot Ramos, there's somebody out there better, but do you want to see what he can become? Casey Schmidt, there's somebody out there better, but do you want to see what he can become? And it's now the time. It feels like the Giants want to get through this season with a brand new coach, maybe mess around and be a version of the Reds, snag that last playoff spot and get the ball rolling. I don't know if this is the year or the season where they're saying, oh, yeah, and you have Grant Brisbee, and everybody's trying to tell us it's going to be boring. I don't know if this is the year where they're saying we're going to take some big swings and this is it for us. The same way we're seeing the Blue Jays do, because the Blue Jays just came back from a World Series trip, but they didn't get it done. So I'd like them to add to it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't, or if they just grab one or two guys via a smaller trade, or even a Mike Yastrzemski. I know, another polarizing name. It just wouldn't surprise me at this point. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at _Styles Files, Styles with an I. We will be back tomorrow. And thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the Locked On MLB podcast, where there is no offseason. Sully keeps you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed MLB fan. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.